WebP can do everything that JPEG, PNG, and GIF can do together. That combines all these things and has even better compression. We want to talk about image optimization on websites today. What kind of image formats are there? What do you need to know about that? And yeah, let's figure out what do we need to know, what you need to know. Dominik, what do you know about image optimization on websites?
Images. Interesting topic. Images usually in like a lot of content-driven websites are the biggest assets that you download, right? Like most of your bandwidth goes like or is used for images. Mm-hmm. So how do you optimize for that? Like what do you do? There are tons of different formats. There are tons of different strategies. There's now native lazy loading. Like there are source sets for responsive images. So lots of things. Where do you start? It starts with an image tag, right?
Yeah, right.
That's the most simple thing to integrate or include or show an image on your website is an image tag.
What types of image formats typically are there that you would have on your website? We have a JPEG, like the typical photography format kind of when you want to show pictures. We have PNG that is best used for illustrations and things like that. Also, it supports transparency, which JPEG doesn't. We have GIFs, which allow for animation. We have SVGs. I was thinking, is that an image format, a picture? How do you call that? Is that picture format?
Everything that you can stick into an image tag is an image.
Okay, that's our definition. Everything you can stick in an image tag is an image. Uh-huh. Then it's also inline images with data.
They always have a format, right? Just differently encoded. But yeah, and then like these have been around forever, right? And all like computers are have pretty good support for these. So that means if you double click on one of these files on your local machine, it will open it and show you the image. And then we have web formats, right? Those that they were probably all invented because of the web, because we needed a new format to exchange optimized images. And the most widely used currently still is WebP, I would say. I think there were a couple of other things, right? JPEG 2000. What's the other one called? Like there was always like the one browsers supported like JPEG 2000, and then there was like Apple, like Safari that supported another one, or the other way around. I don't really remember because these weren't like because the browser support was so scattered. At least we never really implemented them.
Yeah.
And then WebP emerged. And now there's a new contender, which is called Aviv, right?
Yeah.
Or I don't even know how to pronounce it.
Probably Aviv. Aviv?
No, Aviv.
Yeah, and these image formats have different use cases, right? Some of them allow transparency, some are lossless, some are like with offer compression options. Some allow animation. But from a technical point of view, I think what mostly interests us and as web developers is getting the best quality of an image with highest compression, basically. And so one of the things that have had a massive impact on how we build websites is certainly I was just thinking about the times when we used GIFs to mimic shadows on websites and created huge sprite assets. you don't need that anymore, just not just because of newer image formats, but because CSS evolved a lot and so on. But I wanted to say like that SVGs have become very, very common because it's such like a great vector format, so that you get, it's not even lossless images, but high quality illustrations, scalable images, illustrations that you can also edit, or not edit, but you can animate it and manipulate it with CSS and so on, right?
Yeah.
But what about JPEG? What about PNG? What about the good old image formats? What do you need to know about optimizing those when it comes to your website?
Well, yeah, it's like there have been so many like compression formats, right? And also there are like new ways on how to optimize JPEGs. Like there are a lot of like paid tools where you just upload an image and it will just optimize it for you, and you can download it in the same quality but with a smaller file size and so on, right? There's this the most famous like open source one is, I think, Squoosh, right? The Squoosh app kind of thing, where they also play with different compression tools like Moss JPEG or things like that, right? But what has like, or the overall finding was basically that these formats are sort of not really 100% suited for the web, right? And that's why actually WebP and AVIF then came along. So while you can of course try to optimize the compression algorithm or whatever for the existing formats, people just like invented new ones, came up with like new formats that they can use. And actually, if you look at like WebP browser support, you wouldn't even need JPEGs or PNGs anymore, right? Because WebP is also not Webpack. WebP is also a lot more versatile because you can choose if you want to have lossless or lossy compression, and and you will always end up with a smaller file size. It supports transparency, right? At least, I think so. Yeah. And and the new kit basically on the block is AVIF, which doesn't really have Safari and Edge support, I think, and only Chrome supports animated AVIF files. So this, when this is widely supported, this has also the potential of replacing even GIFs, which like WebP, I think WebP cannot animate stuff, right?
I think it does. I listened to another podcast recently. I think they said that and that WebP does support animation, just like GIFs.
Okay.
And that it supports lossless compression and lossy compression and transparency and animation. Basically, WebP can do everything that JPEG, PNG, and GIF can do together. Right? Usually, you would need one of these formats. Like for a nice looking picture, you would need JPEG and that it's compressed really well. PNG gives you like the transparency and so on, but it's only lossless, right? You can't compress that. And then GIF, you have that for animations. And basically, WebP is the best image format out there, like out of those four that combines all these things and has even better compression.
Yeah. So what was actually holding us back all this time from not using WebP?
Yeah, what?
Just as a single file? Well, for a long time it was IE11. And also Safari.
And Safari. They took quite some time until they supported it.
They did, like, if you are on Big Sur, I think, like macOS 11, then Safari 14 supports it and up. We're now at Safari 16 or 16.1. So, like, it should be safe to say that, or 97% of all browsers like based on the Can I Use like global browser stats, or they are taking the what is it called again? The browser stats from
Can I Use?
Yeah, but the stat counter global stats.
Okay,
right? That's what they use. So actually, you don't need any other format on the web, like for modern sites. And if you think your clients are using more or less modern devices, right?
Yeah.
But like for me, a long time, the biggest issue with WebP was also that you just cannot open it really well on your computer, right? Mm-hmm. Like preview isn't working, or other, like, I don't know. You would never edit, like you never edit or take a picture in WebP. You always take in another. Well, if you take raw pictures, then you have to like encode it anyways or export it into a different format. But a lot of cameras also take just like JPEG formats, right? Or JPEG pictures or PNGs or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But that's like, you can come to a very quick conclusion that WebP, you should just use WebP. There's no reason to use one of the other formats, or there are just many reasons why you should use WebP. But yeah, it's just how do you get there, right? No one has WebP images lying around usually, and most of the software you're using on a computer, they give you export options for JPEG or PNG. But where's WebP? And then open it on your local computer. Still to this day, I find myself when I see a WebP image that I drag it into my browser to look at it.
Yes. Yeah, and also like, I mean, the question is, what do you want to do, right? Do you want to actually upload, like, do you want to tell the client to convert all of their images first to a format that's only used on the web? I mean, in a lot of cases, this would make sense because they don't use it anywhere else. But most of the time, actually, it doesn't make sense, right? So, and then the client actually wants to upload a non-WebP image. And then the CMS or something else has to do the conversion. For a long time, WordPress didn't even support WebP, right? You couldn't like natively.
You couldn't upload it.
You couldn't upload it, and like you couldn't like convert it or whatever. And there are tons of plugins that will do like WebP conversions for you, either on your local machine or also like on the not local machine, but on the server that you host WordPress on, or with an external service. But also this is always quite resource intense, right? And you have to have the software for that. Like you either have to have PHP GD, which usually has WebP support, or ImageMagick that needs to be compiled with WebP support. But then, if you have that, you're actually free, or you could be good to, because WordPress actually resizes your images anyways when you upload them, right? So you have to convert them anyhow. So why not convert them into WebP only? Why is that so great, Steffen?
Why is that so great?
Why is that so great that you can only use one format?
Why? Is that a trick question?
No, it's actually not. But you remember the times when it first started with images, and then you always wanted to give the best experience for all of the browsers, but still support like older browsers. And then, okay, it's not enough to have an image tag where we started with a single image, but you need to take like a picture element, for example, with different source elements inside, so that you could say, or you would just render multiple image tags next to each other with like a different type or whatever, right? But you would always have to have extra markup for that.
Either that, or we for WebP, I think we added many times an HT access rule, which would check if the browser supported WebP as an image format, and then was redirecting all those images which were a JPEG or trying to when a JPEG was trying to get loaded, then it would redirect to the WebP format. But this was one of the biggest issues we had with the recent earlier Flint version, right? Where we implemented automatic WebP conversion. But yeah, the infrastructure, the server had to support that first of all. And this HT access rule had to be integrated and work. And then on Nginx, it works differently again. And so I think some developers just ended up with no images being displayed. It's like, why is it broken? It's like, oh, it's a feature. It's not a bug. It's just like it doesn't work because your setup doesn't support it. And then we start like warnings and stuff like that. But right, you talked about the conversion of images, and yeah, it is much better if you have just one image format to not having to support multiple image formats and browsers. That's always a challenge also with newer image formats. I heard like that AVIF would be a successor of that, but then that's not as widely supported yet. So how would your dev stack then look like? You let people upload JPEGs and then convert that to WebP and to AVIF to see which one of those is supported. And then there's an issue with an image and you first need to figure out which format it is in again and then trace that back and fix that. So in an ideal world, people would just like upload WebPs right away, because also this step of converting it into a different format, there typically you will lose quality and you should reduce the amount of steps. But still, it's much better. And specifically when using Retina images these days, the quality differences aren't that noticeable many times because you're having twice the image density anyways. But yeah, long story short, you should use WebP in any form. Either like have on your website some kind of service or plugin installed that converts your JPEG, PNGs, GIFs to WebP, or just directly upload WebP images. If you figure out how to do that, if you figure out how to create WebP images directly.
Actually, I'm thinking about this, and I have a weird proposal because I don't know if this is possible or not, but I think it should be. I mean, you know, like how WordPress with Gutenberg, they are basically going the route to have like to render to render JavaScript components, right? React components. They render React components in the browser and save the outputted HTML markup or whatever inside of the database. Right? So that's also the reason why when like a plugin changes like a Gutenberg block, then you cannot just simply take the new markup of this, or the new markup is not rendered on the website, but the markup is rendered that was saved into the database when you last edited the page, right? So that means your browser becomes kind of the rendering engine for your website, the browser of the editor. So you should be able to do WebP conversion in your browser, right?
In your browser, you mean like directly within?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you just load an image tag or like from file, and then you export to blob, and then you upload that blob to the server. So why not add a functionality to WordPress that does that?
Interesting.
So instead of directly uploading the image, you first load it in your local browser, convert it, and then upload that.
But you would need to load the original source image, even if it's like a 8 megabyte JPEG, and then the browser needs to do the conversion there on the fly.
Yes.
So the image wouldn't, I think that the only downside more would be the image wouldn't convert on upload. You would save the original file first when it's uploaded. but when you insert it into a page, basically, then it gets converted. Or whenever you're uploading it, that image needs to be displayed, or maybe that can be even be done in the background in a web worker or something like that, and it gets converted on the fly.
Yeah. I actually thought about the uploading before, the conversion before the uploading, but it would also be possible, of course, to...
Oh, you mean you open an image from the disk and you don't even upload it yet, but you first read the image and then actually upload the data blob to the site.
Yeah. Well, anyways, and just a sidetrack, right?
Did you just have a new plugin idea?
Yeah, maybe.
Is that maybe that's a good one? I don't know. Yeah. It sounds good one.
Yeah, because like I think it's not really realistic to assume that in the foreseeable future everyone will upload WebP images only. I mean, you can maybe tell the client that's the best workflow they can have, and then they get like a converter and do this before they upload them. But again, this is always a little like tricky. Or makes things more complicated for the client. So for me, then the best workflow would be upload an image, and then it gets converted to WebP, or whenever you display an image on the website, you don't display the JPEG or other format or PNG, but you convert that to WebP and only serve that image. And this has a lot of advantages, right? You already touched on it. The way that we integrated WebP on most, like in Flint a while ago, or in earlier versions of Flint, was a bit hacky, right? Because you tell the browser that if a certain header, like accept header, if the browser accepts WebP images, serve the WebP image instead of the JPEG at the URL of the JPEG.
Yes.
So that already it's already complicated to explain, and it's also complicated for the browser, right? This also breaks stuff, and this is not how like the HTML is intended, or this wasn't intended for that, right? So when you use like a CDN, that doesn't support that, then it could be that an image that has a JPEG extension is actually a WebP image, gets saved at the CDN with the JPEG extension, and also served to browsers that do not support WebP, right? So that actually led to, like whenever we used a CDN with this technique, it led to issues because like people wouldn't see images, or people who, when the browser supported WebP, they might get served JPEGs because the first person visiting the website was somebody whose browser didn't have WebP support.
And then was cached as JPEG response, yes. Or like in the Oh, exactly. That's so misleading. Still today, it's like when I go to a website and I look in the network requests and it says all JPEGs, and I'm like, oh, why is it not supporting loading WebPs? And then you inspect it. Oh yeah, right. It's a JPEG served. No, it's a WebP served as a JPEG. And then you try to save that also to your disk, and then you need to save it as a WebP. Might need to rename it or directly get saved. It's like,
Yeah, and then if you use curl or something like that, right, then you might get the JPEG served because you didn't tell curl to include the headers to accept WebP, right? So it's like, it's really complicated, and it's like, and this is also like, this gave us so many headaches in the development of Flint. That's why we actually switched to using a dedicated plugin for that. And there are also good open source plugins out there, like WebP Express is what we use, and they support like Apache, Nginx, IIS, and also have these different techniques, right? Because using like the this header technique, or this serving different content for the same URL is only one technique. The other technique would be to automatically rewrite the HTML that instead of having just an image tag, you put everything in a picture element or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or like have multiple sources for that. So,
and like you could ask, why not use that? Well, it works. Why worry about that topic? And yeah, one of those answers is, I think, well, because it's just one more step of complexity again. It's one more thing where things can break, and usually it shouldn't. But then again, you have this CDN case where things break and might go unnoticed or might be hard to figure out, right? Especially with CDN, this can be so deceiving when you see an issue, and it's also this developer thing. Well, that shouldn't happen. It has to work.
yes.
I cannot imagine that's true. And then you dig deeper and say, oh, that's why. Okay, how are we going to solve that again?
Yeah. And actually, I mean, some CDNs actually offer something similar, right? Or not, that they automatically optimize the images and serve them as WebP. But again, like, it is really, really also hard to debug because for a lot of our clients, image quality is like paramount, right? They really like in a like glossy magazine kind of that's online or something like that. You want to have, especially the hero image, or also like other images, just to look really good and to look really sharp and so on, right? And then like you start, okay, you upload a JPEG file. Then first of all, we actually take out this the automatical resize of images in WordPress, because WordPress by default will actually cut your or crop your image to, I think, or resize the image to 2000 something pixels, that you don't clutter the hard disk with like 10 megabyte or 50 megabyte images, right? So, but we have disabled that on purpose. And then we actually generate really specific image sizes for components. We don't use the regular WordPress image functionality for that. And then you have the image that was uploaded. First of all, was this already not compromised? What is it? Compressed. Okay. Mm-hmm. Was this already compressed? And then you actually resize that down to fit like the browser or like the viewport or whatever, your page. Then this resizing can, there you can have an image quality loss. And then you have WordPress applying like some JPEG filter for like decreasing the quality, right? To save some stuff. And then you also additionally then convert the image to WebP, because this is what happens when you use one of these plugins or when you use an extra service that will just differentially serve either WebP or JPEG, because the JPEG is the original file, and if a browser with WebP support requests that image, they will convert it, right? This specific image. And the best thing would be, quality-wise, right, to take the original image, resize it down, and without saving it to JPEG, save it to WebP immediately. And debugging where this regression in quality was actually introduced is really hard, as especially also image quality is something really subjective, right? So it's like, I would tell you, yeah, this image looks fine, but the client might say, no, it doesn't, right? So I can see like the shadows in the eyes are a little bit blurry, or like.
But not just that, but then which browser are you looking at, and which display? Is it Retina? Is it not Retina? Is it mobile? Is it desktop? And then there's this resizing issue. Where
the one bug that nobody cares about. And
why? Why doesn't...
I don't know.
Could we please make this a petition?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, there is a bug report for that. So for everyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, Chrome actually has an issue with resizing images down, right? So if you have a large image and you display it in a smaller resolution, it will blur the image in Chrome on a non-Retina display. On a Retina display, you won't notice the difference, right? There is no blur. But on a non-Retina image display, there is this blur. And this is driving me crazy. This has driven me crazy so many times. And also, like, what do you tell your clients? Yeah, buy a better screen. Fix this. I cannot fix the Chrome bug for you.
Well, and then people reasonably come up with trying to fix this themselves and suggest, well, but then just let me know what the ideal size is I should upload the image in, and I would just load it in 800 by 600 pixels whatsoever. And then we're like, no, don't
you have
do
a responsive
this.
website.
Exactly, you have a responsive image. We are loading probably 10 different image sizes anyways for this one image to optimize it for different resolutions. So this wouldn't work. So please upload your images in the highest resolution that you have, and we'll take it from there and resize it down. That's one of the core features of how we develop websites with Flint, but it's more like an approach that we decided to do, and that many websites still don't have, but also many people probably just don't know about how responsive images work exactly.
Yeah. I mean, in WordPress, things are also like, I mean, what's really nice, it's really easy. In WordPress, it's really easy to use an image, right? Like as a developer to render an image. And for a lot of cases, things are fine and things look good because WordPress optimizes the responsive images for like full width images, right? So they will always load the best image size with regards to your browser size, but only if the image is full width. If you have an image gallery or if you have columns of images that are not full width, then your browser will always download an image that's too big. And this is not optimal for page speed and not optimal for your visitors because they download or use more bandwidth to view your site.
Yeah, because like most images aren't full width on a website, right?
Yeah.
It's more like those hero images. Yeah. So use WebP, everyone together. But right. Yeah, I think then like we need like softwares need to adopt this more also, that WebP becomes a default, at least export options out of software, and that everyone gets more used to it. However, how realistic is it that this will happen? Because then there are the other formats waiting already, AVIF and JPEG, XL, and whatsoever.
Yeah, but what is actually the downside of using WebP? Is there a downside? But probably only like an expert could answer this, right?
I really think, I don't think so. I think there is no downside. There is no logic reason not to use WebP.
Yeah.
It's better. It's better than everything else. You should use it. But then challenge me on that. Like anyone listening to this, challenge me on that if I'm wrong. It's just, that's what I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's when you compare it to JPEG and PNG, right? I mean, there are other formats out there like RAW or maybe it doesn't support all of the codecs. Maybe it's harder to, like, I don't know. But it would be awesome if your camera would just output WebP, right? You take a picture, and if you don't have it set up to RAW mode, then you usually get a JPEG.
Mm-hmm.
But why can't you get a WebP?
I think it's probably like the TV cassette X beta thing in the 80s. It was the better format. It didn't succeed. It wasn't marketed the right way. I don't know.
Good.
Yeah. WebP.
So, support your local software developer and
support
demand
your local
WebP
dealer.